Meantime, before that, running a marathon is something on many people's bucket list. But when you imagine crossing the finish line, it's more likely to be in the local park than a Middle Eastern war zone. Well, a former British soldier has completed a treble of marathons in the world's most troubled hotspots with a successful run through the hostile terrain of Afghanistan. Jordan Wylie crossed the finishing line in the mountainous regions of Afghanistan at the weekend in just under 7 hours after previously completing runs in Somalia and also in Iraq. It's all in aid of his Running Dangerously project, which raises funds to help educate children in each of the countries.
In Bamiyan province, where we've run today, the security challenges are almost non-existent. I've run freely for 8 hours. I've not had any problems. I've not had any problems for the last 3 days while I've been here. Of course, it's not the same in places like Helmand and in the north, but for me, I definitely see hope for Afghanistan.
And to talk over his mammoth achievement, I'm delighted to say that Jordan Wylie is joining me here in the studio. Hello.
Thank you.
Goodness me, you were here 2 or 3 weeks ago, weren't you? I was a little bit worried about you, but you're home safe.
I'm home in one piece, and it was an amazing adventure.
Tell us about it.
Oh, it was incredible. Obviously, I went out there for a week before to acclimatise, which was definitely needed on reflection. The adventure itself was full of twists and turns. It wasn't as simple as we planned.
What way?
Well, just getting to the location. Although the location that I actually ran in was very safe, and I was incredibly welcomed by the very hospitable people of Afghanistan. But getting there was through some of the badlands of Afghanistan. So I needed to get a United Nations humanitarian flight in the end because there was no commercial flights due to the security threats in the area. But I got there, and what an incredible journey it was when I got there. It was just amazing. The most beautiful, picturesque area of land. It was unbelievable. I went to a place called Bandi Amir, which is in the Bamiyan province. It would be up there with any top tourist destination in the world for going to have a look and exploring. It was incredible.
I saw some of your pictures. I mean, it looked absolutely amazing. A very beautiful, very picturesque part of the world. Meeting up with these youngsters as well. That was great, which is the reason that you're doing this, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think for me, it was my first marathon, so it was incredibly tough. But to run at 11,000 feet altitude, the windburn, the sunburn, I was getting nosebleeds every hour or so, every couple of miles. So it was really tough. But what was incredible is you ran through lots of villages, and you would always see the children, which was that sort of constant reminder of why you was there. And, you know, it makes me fill up now even thinking about the little faces, and they were handing me sweets, and they were really what kept me going through the marathon.
OK, so you're raising money to do what?
So I want to provide educational opportunities for children in these countries. I think one of the ways we can inspire hope is through education, because on the face of it, a lot of the people that I met, they didn't have much going for them, they didn't have much to live for, but education was something they all love and enjoy. And I went to some caves, and there were refugee classrooms, schools set up within cave systems in Afghanistan, and you know, all they need is some basic resources. I was fortunate enough to teach some English lessons out there, and they don't ask for much, but we, you know, just by giving a little, we can provide a lot, I think.
You were unsupported during this trip, and you were a former British soldier, so it's quite a dangerous thing to do. The Taliban would have very much liked to say hello to you. I'm sure they would have, yeah. That was one of the big risks when we went out there, and that's why the marathon was never published in terms of when we were going to run, what time, what area. And the team who organised the marathon, an organisation called Untamed Borders, James Wilcox, he did a phenomenal job of keeping it all under wraps. And we took a low profile. I grew my beard, as you can see. Ridiculous hair, as I saw on your Twitter feed. Yeah.
Ridiculous
Big hair, don't care.
Exactly. And you know, respected the local culture and customs as well. I dressed in local Afghan dress throughout my time, except for the marathon. But even in the marathon, I covered my body up and paid my respects. And while I was out there as well, I run with the number 454 on my back, which was to commemorate the lives of the British soldiers and servicemen and women that were lost out there. And I was fortunate enough to pay a visit to the Kabul British Military Cemetery.
I saw that.
It was really, really moving.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was, you know, so it's in the middle of Kabul. They have a military cemetery that commemorates the life of all the British servicemen and women that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. And that was pretty emotional as well to go and visit, but it was very important for me to do that and sort of pay respect to my fallen comrades.
Which was the most challenging part of the marathon for you?
Oh, every mile. The hills were just relentless.
I saw you running up some of the hills. Pretty steep, weren't they?
Yeah, they were serious.
What were you at, 11,000 feet?
11,000 feet, and even as a former soldier and extreme adventurer, it made sort of the Brecon Beacons look like a playground out there. It was unforgiving, but you've just got to keep going, and sort of small milestones, like in any aspect of life, just keep getting those small goals and keep telling yourself to keep going. But ultimately, it was the people and the children that really drove me through that marathon. And it was a real honour to meet the Afghan people out there, really.
You've also run in Somalia and Iraq, I think?
Yeah, I ran the 10K in Somalia, the first ever mixed gender 10K, and a half marathon in Iraq. And again, for me, it was about challenging some of the Western perceptions, perhaps, of these places, because a lot of people say, you're crazy, why would you ever think of going out there? But I turn on the news this morning and there's been drive-by shootings in the UK, there's been knife crime, there's been stabbings. I didn't see any of that in my trip to Afghanistan. So I think it's about opening our eyes and taking the world for what it is. You get risk everywhere and you have to manage that. But it was an incredible trip.
So what's next?
So next, we've got 2 big expeditions next year for charity. So the first one is hopefully going to be a world first. I'm going to row across the Bab el-Mandab Straits, which is essentially the gateway.
Where are they?
It's the gateway to the Gulf of Aden. It's in pirate badland, pirate territory.
Right. What could possibly go wrong?
We've got to push the boundaries. And in December next year, I'm taking a team to abseil the Angel Falls, which is the highest waterfall in the world. So yeah, really exciting year ahead, hopefully, and lots of fundraising.
And what are the challenges for those 2 separate events compared to running a marathon that all presumably have different challenges for you?
Absolutely. Well, coming from a maritime security background myself, I know that even as a soldier working in Iraq, Afghanistan, there's nowhere more remote in the world than being in the middle of the ocean with limited communications to the outside world. And you've got to be very self-sustainable, whereas on land you can normally get assistance of some sort. So, yeah, there's obviously the pirates, there's the rebels, there's the sharks, there's the high levels of salinity in the water. It's a terrorist trade route, if you like, for smuggling narcotics, arms. So there's going to be lots of security issues, perhaps even more so than this year. But again, that's what I'm relishing, the challenge, very much.
And what's your target as far as fundraising is concerned?
I want to raise as much as possible, but 100,000 this year. I think we're going to go bigger and better next year. So I'm always looking for sponsors if anyone's out there who wants to get involved.
And how do they do that? They find you on Twitter? Or?
Yeah, Twitter, or my website is jordanwylie.org. And I'm very grateful to all these people. I give you good value, especially Burrells.
When did you get back?
I got back last night, really late, so quite tired.
Oh, thank you for coming to see us.
I couldn't miss it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And when do you hope to do your next challenge?
So hopefully mid next year. So I'm starting training for rowing dangerously in January with double Olympic champion Alex Gregory, who's very kindly offered his support. He's going to get me in good shape because I've never rowed a boat before, so that's going to be interesting.
Your boss is on later on, did you know?
He is. The big man, Peter Blexley's in, the chief. So yeah, I had to make sure I was coming in smart this morning. So yeah, we've got Hunted coming out tomorrow, haven't we? As you well know.
We have, and so he's going to come on and talk about that, and also talk about well, you'll see if you watch.
Absolutely.
It's lovely to see you. Oh, can I have a hug?
Ah, thank you very much.
Oh, lovely to see you.
Thank you for your support.
Oh, not at all. Thank you for coming in. Tell us when you're rowing and come and talk to us again.